Welcome to the Blackburn End Podcast. 2 wins on the bounce has given us some hope. Whilst there are still lots of things that need improving at the club, at least we have some positives on the field. Also, I've managed to upgrade the graphics a little bit for you, so let's see how that goes. But here are the headlines. So Rovers grabbed the 3 points against Preston as Ohashi heads the late winner to send Ewood into raptures. And other results across the weekend mean Rovers are now 5 points above the relegation area in 20th place. And we now have 2 tough games as they face Bristol City at home and on Tuesday. And then it's away to Derby on Saturday. And finally, the contract rumour mill is turning as Todd Cantwell is apparently not renewing terms with the club. Will it be a loss? Well, let's discuss. But Mark, did you have a good weekend?
Mate, I've had a traumatic day. I was just telling you about it. So I picked up a new puppy last Monday. Had a car accident on the Monday. As about 5 minutes after picking her up. She's settled in very well, done some serious military grade training, getting her ready for work. She came into work with me today. All's been pretty good. And then on the way home, I made a schoolboy error, didn't let her go to the toilet. And we'll not go into details, but we'll just say there's been a couple of learning lessons tonight. Take her to the toilet before we leave work. And she doesn't particularly like showers.
Well, there we go. Yeah, I got a dog not long ago, so as well. So I feel your pain. I came home to one waiting for us in the middle of the kitchen as well. So there's something about us right now. We're having to deal with absolute shit. But at least we're not having to cope with shit on the pitch right now. Another positive result. This one seemed to hit the notes quite nicely. We went into this game relatively positive last week. We were excited. We said we was excited. And the team came and did what they needed to do for us. So here is the initial match reaction from us. That is probably the highest I've felt as a Rovers fan all season when that goal went in. It was so satisfying. Just great stuff. The energy, the passion and desire from the team that we're seeing, it's just worlds apart. We saw it last week against QPR, that little manager bounce, and it's great to see it this week in this game. Obviously a Friday night under the lights at Ewood, a derby, you're going to get a better atmosphere. But the game, it wasn't the best of games. It seemed like we was just playing this safe, structured football, which is what people said that we would see. It was great to see Pickering back. I thought he had a good game. And we were just solid. It was just this solid performance. We got to see glimpses of, I think, how we're going to play with this new formation, of keeping things tight. And then just seeing if we could have these moments to counter-attack. We soaked up quite a lot at one point in the second half, and then we had quite a lot of the ball. Then they had a lot of the ball. And then Tote at the end coming and missing a punch was a bit ropey. There was opportunities for us to get goals. And I actually started making notes just saying that we just need that little bit of luck, a little bit of quality just to get games over the line. And then that goes and happens. Just absolute scenes. I'm looking forward to the podcast this week. I really, really am. And I think we're going to have an enjoyable conversation.
Wow. Do you know what, Mike? That is the difference a good manager makes. Watch that first half. They're the better of the first 10 minutes, but I watched how tactically he'd sussed them. He knew where they were getting the ball. We started to press them right. We started to get Baradji and trying to start really pressing high, winning the ball, creating a couple of chances, but nothing major. Then second half, he'd obviously looked at what they were doing. He tweaked it slightly. And we absolutely dominated that second half. We didn't create bucket loads, but there was one or two that we should have scored. And then we couldn't have picked a better moment. The Blackburn End was rammed. The ground was rammed. We were behind the manager fully. Behind the team fully. Yuki's gone and scored. Last minute of the game. That moment is going to be absolutely massive. Legs everywhere. Arms everywhere. We're 10 points off playoffs. I was joking the other day. There's momentum here. We couldn't. Could we?
Well, we better start talking positively because I believe in O'Neill. He's given us something to be passionate about and support now, hasn't he?
He certainly has. I think the first thing that you felt from him was a connection immediately, which was something that was missing from the previous manager, whether that's his fault or not. I think I felt that we've got a manager who isn't rigid to the point where it's going to be detrimental. I think he's somebody who will look at what he's got and make the best of what he's got. And that's absolutely what we need. And I think that he's just exuding this calm, experienced nature. And you look at him on the bench and you think, he's got this under control. There's going to be times where it's not great. There's going to be times where things aren't, but you feel like it won't be for a lack of thought, preparation, and decision making. And I think there was a lack of all of those. It felt like, as a fan, you don't know what's going on the training ground, but it did feel like it was like, this is our plan and we're going to stick to it no matter what. And it feels now like, yeah, we've got a plan. We've rehearsed it. We've researched it. We've looked at the opposition. We've worked on their strengths and weaknesses. And I thought that was... the performance wasn't massively amazing. It's not night and day from what we've seen, but what was really impressive to me was that I felt like we had a manager and a coaching staff that looked at the opposition and adapted what we needed to do to impact on them.
Yeah, from a coach and management point of view, it did feel like there was a lot more preparation. So straight away with the formation, you can see the way we'd set up with that 5-3-2, with obviously the wing backs being able to push on. The fact we got to see Pickering as well, someone who we've been calling out to see, fantastic for him to come on. And then Cashin kind of just coming in a little bit to that left centre-back role, getting man of the match he's been an absolute revelation, but just all these little decisions you can just see. And then the players, they're showing some energy, they're showing passion, a bit of desire. And I'll be honest, I'd kind of committed myself with my notes as I was watching to it just petering out to being a draw. And some of the notes I'd made, there was missed chances, just the lack of quality in that final third. We just need a little bit of luck. And I was kind of trying to justify how we hadn't won the game. And then, obviously, we go and grab the winner. I haven't heard anything like it. And like I said, in my voice reaction, I came away really feeling positive. And I can't remember it feeling like that. And I actually have the sound that that the commentary team put out with our friend Neil Yardley. I just want to play it because it does give you goosebumps.
Game on the line in the 5th minute of added time. Cashin throws into the penalty area. Headed straight back to him, and he'll dig out a high, deep cross towards the back post where Hashi heads it home. Rovers win it in the 5th minute of added time. Yuki Ohashi off the bench to send Ewood Park wild.
Yeah.
That roar at the end, we said you got to inject it, and it's giving me goosebumps now, and I hope everyone's got goosebumps listening to that, because that's what the team needed.
Yeah, I think the fans needed it, the club needed it, the team needed it. It felt like a real moment together, and I'm not going to keep harping back, but it did feel like a real moment together, and you need that sometimes. You need that early on in a manager's reign. You need it at certain key times in a season, whether you're going for promotion, you're going to try and stay up. And it felt like a moment. I think as much as the points were big, that moment was big. It felt like it united us. Listen, there's other stuff going on, I know that. But it united us with the fans and the team, those wearing the shirt. It felt like it united us with the coaching staff, and that we are with one common goal of let's just get this team out of the absolute mire and then we go from there. But it felt like for a long time, I haven't felt like this, and I came away from the game and I thought, I was trying to work out what is it? Why am I so being Preston? I'm not that fussed about Preston. I've said before, if we finish 1, I want them to finish 2. Was it the points that did? I thought, what was it? Was it the last minute winner? I think it's that I've got hope back. I'm going to go into games and going, we could win this. I can see where we can. I'm doing that again. I've got some hope back, some energy back. I'm looking forward to going on a Tuesday night. What is going on? There's just something back in. There's just that something that you need as a fan.
Yeah, and it's because we feel like we've got a leader now. You can see, I mean, let's be honest, it's 2 games, and the opposition that we've played have been decent, but it's not like we're playing top of the league. I know Preston have obviously been pushing up the league, but we'll rein it in a little bit. We do understand it has only been 2 games, but it's just these little glimpses we haven't seen, and that's why we're so positive right now. Is we're seeing someone on the sideline that's talking to his coaches. He's getting their advice. You can see some of the things he's talking about with the players. The players look happy. They're smiling at each other, and that's before the game as well. That's not just after the good result. You can see them before the game, just seeing that little bit more relaxed, that little bit more confident. And we look at the starting lineup, and it's not like it's changed massively from what we was doing. It just seems like they've got a little bit more direction, a little bit more confidence. Yes, that final third is obviously still a concern. There was a few missed chances, but we were still making those chances, and we was trying something that I liked. Ohashi came on, and he showed energy, and that was great. We'd said all along that he was someone that looked very tired. Even from the day he signed, we felt like he was being overused. And the fact that obviously he could come on and actually affect the game was great. A couple of decisions weren't great with the crosses, but the keeper did some good goalkeeping to come out and get there. And I think if he hadn't scored, there might have been people calling that moment out maybe a little bit more. But he's not a goal scorer, but he gets himself in these positions. And to have one of the shortest players on the pitch find the space to go and head it was just absolutely fantastic. And I think a lot of credit goes to the changes and the subs that were made as well. I thought they came at the right time. Yeah. I thought that Preston had a moment in the second half where I was getting a bit jittery, and then towards the end Tote came out, and I'd been saying how well he'd been doing coming for crosses, and then he comes and absolutely misses a punch. So a bit of egg on my face on that one, but it is just a moment. But I just thought, it's not going to go our way. But I thought the subs came at the right time, and I thought they did quite well there.
Yeah, I mean, we're not getting carried away. I know I was joking about the playoffs. Listen, we know we are where we are, but there's some belief back. There's a belief that if we don't win, and we won't win every week, we're not saying that there's the new Messiah. But we said this under Eustace. We can accept, listen, we are where we are. We know that as a football club. But what I want to see when I come off from the ground is a team that's given their all, and there was a plan that I can understand and I can get behind, and everyone works to that plan. And I think what I saw in the game was Preston got the first 10 minutes of a foothold, but we'd clearly worked and a system and a way of playing that was to counteract some of their strengths, but also to use what we had in strengths and counteract what we didn't have. I think once we got to grips with them after the first 10, we saw Tronstad, what he's been doing great recently, pressing really high, winning that ball. He's so good at it. He wins it. He doesn't give fouls away. He's then able to play a ball. And I thought for the next period of the half, really, not much was in it, but there's a couple of signs, and I thought, I like this. I really like that we are reacting in game, but we also clearly have worked on this. We're setting some traps, and they're falling right into them, because I'm not having a pop at Preston, but they're not a tremendous footballing team. They've had a really good run, of course they have, but we've been in that position ourselves where you think, we are here, but I'm not sure we deserve to be here, or we're going to last. You just get a feeling. And then as the game has gone on, I'm so glad you talked about those subs, because it wasn't so much as subs, there was a couple of tweaks in game. And what it meant was we were then allowing them to come on to us a little bit, but we were Jurgensen. If anyone hasn't watched the piece that Tim Sherwood did, firstly on Michael O'Neill, but secondly on Jurgensen, where he did an analysis on him, stretching the play, stretching all the work he does off the ball. And we used his strengths great. And it wasn't in behind like QPR in terms of a goal threat, but he was just stretching them wide, pulling those centre halves. We said that at the game at Deepdale, what we wanted to do going into those games was their centre halves don't want to be out wide. They are centre halves. They don't want to be there. Get them out wide. He was doing it. He was absolutely wearing them down. Ohashi came on, did the same thing. And I just thought it was a real plan. I'm delighted with the win. But even so, I was coming away going, I can see what they tried to do. Maybe there was a bit of quality missing at times. The Ohashi pass is the one that comes to mind, of course. It was under hit. It was hitting the wrong area and things like that. Just a bit careless, a bit lack of quality potentially, or composure. but I could see something. I could see in-game little tweaks. I could see a plan that they'd worked on. But the fact that they've gone and got the 3 points, I think will give the players now a case of, well, when he speaks, we're going to listen. And it just gives you that added extra that you can't buy on the training ground where, oh, right, this is what we need to do. Okay. And I'll come on to the Bristol City game in a minute. But the fact it was Friday and we play Tuesday is also massive.
No, we'll definitely need to get onto that because I think that is important. Going on to the Sky EFL coverage, just a little mention on that. It was quite nice to see the coverage in studio was quite good, but their commentators don't seem, they're so poor. They don't seem prepared. So I like listening to our own coverage, to be honest, compared to theirs. But I did like that piece that Tim Sherwood did, and you could tell how passionate he is still about the club. And obviously, we're a big part of his history, and he's a big part of ours. So it is fantastic to hear that he's still saying the things that he's saying. But yeah, I thought that Jorgensen did quite a lot of dog work as well. Good Johnson, didn't have the greatest of games, but you could tell that he's still there. He's still got that quality. It's just quite funny going through some of my notes because it started to get quite negative. But we're talking about Preston. For a start, Szmodics, or however you pronounce it, is just a horrible human. And I just was so glad that we had him covered because we've said before when Preston come, normally we struggle with that style of game. It'd be strong physical presence up front, and it was fantastic to have that not bite us in the arse again. But it's another team in the top of the excuse the pun. It's another team that's fighting for players. I'm just not impressed with. And that's why I'm so frustrated about another missed opportunity from us this season where we could have really built, because there's not many teams that I've seen us play that have really, really impressed me. No. And it just seems like it's another missed opportunity to really push on. I mean, that small, Thierry Small's quite decent. But generally, I think Gibson's a good player. We was linked to him, wasn't we? I think it was him we was linked to, wasn't it? Or not?
No, it was the other Gibson one. It was Gibson, son, the ex Dingle.
I thought this Gibson was quite decent. But generally, I just didn't think they were that much. I thought they were there for us to push on. I'm glad that we did. I'm glad we didn't slow down. We still looked to counter-attack. We soaked stuff up and we were still looking forward. Whereas under previous management, I felt like we would probably panic a little bit and it'll be more just get the ball, hoof it out, reset, and sometimes not even reset and just look absolutely dodgy. But it looked like we was really happy with that flat three. Carter's looking like the player that we thought he was. Yeah. You know, they just set themselves up beautifully. The wing back set in and then we just explode back out and look for the counter-attack. And it just seemed like a little bit of just really well-drilled team that knew exactly what they had to do as individuals and then obviously as a team.
Yeah. I think Cashin has to have a special mention. I know I've said before, our focus had to be going into the window striker. We didn't really need a left back that was going to perform at an 8 out of 10 when we've got some that perform at a 7. That said, he's here now and he is absolutely performing at an 8 out of 10. Just hand him the man of the match every week. Carter, I think you're right. He's bulked up. He looks an absolute beast.
He looks like a professional footballer now.
The only worry I've got with him, apart everything else, my worry is he's still not learning though. So he's made a foul that, he should be quicker than that, get into that. He needs to read that better because he's quick enough. And he makes those fouls and he's got an early booking. But then he could have been sent off. He holds onto a shirt for far too long and he's going to get caught with it. Now, listen, I'm Hayden Carter's biggest fan. I champion him all the time. I think he's really got something. I think he gives you something going forward. I desperately hope he stays fit and signs a new contract. But so this isn't me digging him out. I just expect Hayden Carter to be head and shoulders above everybody else in a back line in the Championship. I think he's got everything. And when I look at him now, he's used that time wisely because he's a beast of a man.
Yeah, his mum tweeted out, didn't she, how hard he'd been working to get himself sorted, and hopefully he's getting the correct advice now, because I don't believe the advice within the club's necessarily what he needed. So hopefully he's getting the correct advice now to sort himself out. But going forward, Marishta, and it is Marishta, people stop calling us out on the pronunciations. They've even put the video out, so it is Marishta. So do one. Anyway, I'm only joking. I thought that there was the opportunity when the ball came across. I don't think it was actually there was some people calling him out. I don't think it was actually an easy chance for him, because Baraji got there in front of Ohashi and just got a little nick. So that was a little bit of a difficult one for Ohashi or Marishta to do anything. But what was your thoughts on Baraji? Because he had a good shot. It was an awkward one. He managed to just get it just over the bar, which I know a miss is a miss, but it was still an awkward chance to take. I felt like he had a little bit more direction, but he does seem to be a free spirit, let's say.
Yeah, I mean, when he's got the languid style he's got, when it comes off, he looks quality. When it doesn't come off, he's always going to get tired with you're not putting the effort in. I think I'm going to reserve judgment on him. For me, anyone who's not had a full pre-season, particularly when they come across to English football, we've seen this before with some players where it then takes them a full year to settle in. And if they don't have a full pre-season, that is as bigger impact as anything else. He's obviously had a decent injury. He's had an operation. I don't think he's fully come to terms with what it takes to be a player week in, week out in this league. Now, I believe he's got the right person at the moment to get that through to him. And I think if he's not doing it, he won't play. So I'm happy that if they're picking him, they're happy with what he's doing. I'd like to see more from him. And that's partly because of similar to what I've just said with Hayden Carter. I think Baraji's got, sometimes he just walks past people. He's holding them off without seemingly much effort. He can ping a shot. He can pick a pass. Technically, there's an awful lot of things on a football pitch that he can do that other people can't. And physically, he's got the attributes. Whether he's got the physical stamina, I'm not so certain, but that could be the pre-season issue. So I think there's a lot to work with. I just think it's a bit disjointed with him sometimes. Some of the basics aren't there, and some of the really good, nice, the cherry on top of the cake's there, and you think, I need the other ingredients first. I'd like to see him doing those basics well and then adding the others. But listen, he's adapting pretty well to say he's now playing 3 games in a week. I think he's showing bits of quality. He's got something different. I'd rather see him in the team right now than Todd Cantwell, but that's a different matter.
Yeah, we'll get on to that one. Language style, I like that. I've written that one down for future. There's definitely a player in there. You can see there's some qualities. I mean, Afolayan came on and he was a 50-50 one for me, whether he had a good impact or not. But these are part of the Rudy randoms that we need to make sure that they're given the opportunity to play, but also the opportunity to step back and develop as well. If you're relying on players like this constantly, like an actual Henriksen, for example, where there is definitely a player in there, but you could easily damage their confidence and ultimately damage their career with us. Dion Deneva, maybe a little bit lesser than that. But before we move on from this game, because we have got more things we need to talk about today, was there any 3 words that caught your eye?
There were some bloody good ones. We did have one that made me chuckle. Someone sent one at half time and then went, oh, sorry, wrong bit. So they'd replied a 3-word review to the GIF. But yes, what we had, Mike, was Reese, or BRFC_Reese, bodies, limbs, scenes, love that. Tan Wayne, not sure if he's got a tan, don't know. What he would needed. And then I might use either of his names, but he'll know who he is. Sign cash in now. Now on that, I'm sure they'd love to, but was it 7.5 million he went from Derby?
Yeah, I think it was more than that with add-ons.
I'm
afraid this is going to be another one of these lone centre backs we fall in love with, and then he's going to go back to his parent club. I'm afraid it's not going to be a happy ending for Rovers. It's just as long as he gets us out the mire. I mean, you never know. They could send him back on loan next year, but things seem positive right now. So we move on. I mean, the fans are happy. 2 wins. We're now 20th. If you look at the form guides for the teams below us, they're absolutely in the mire. Those we're 4 points above West Brom, and obviously 5 points above the relegation area, which is Leicester, Oxford, and the now relegated Sheffield Wednesday. We've got 2 tough games now. Bristol at home. They're not, they're up in 12th. They're no pushovers. They know how to get results. And then obviously we've got Derby that are doing very well. They're only a point above Bristol. What's your thoughts over the next 2 games then? Are we going to be seeing something similar with this 5-3-2 formation and starting lineup?
I could see him changing it. I think he'll change it if he feels it suits the players we've got available and the opposition. I think at Derby we will see it. I think that will be a case of match them up, worry about their strengths a little bit with obviously Mr. Díaz on one side, Adjumang on the other, and Sammie, who's getting pelters at the minute, is obviously going to come through and bag his first goal for them. But the Bristol City game, I think we might slip back into the 4 at the back. I think we might see 4-3-3 kind of formation, maybe the 2 up front against a 4-4-2. People called us out on. Good Johnson was dropping deep. It's a bit like Teddy Sheringham at United. It was 4-4-2 back in the day. Then it was 4-4-1-1. Now it's 4-2-3-1. I think we could see that on Tuesday, tomorrow night, as we record this. I think we might see 5 at the back at Derby. What I do think we will see is, what we should see, is a massive difference in our energy levels to Bristol City's. So for those, I've talked about this before, but for those who, I apologise to anyone who's got a sports science degree and specialises in this area, but roughly the stats are that the day after a game is all about recovery. We know that. The day after that, so usually you play a Saturday, Sunday, it's just about getting all your energy levels back in, getting all your carbs in, getting your protein in, getting all your electrolytes in, and a bit of exercise, muscle massage to just get any tension out of it. On the Monday, you get up to about 40% of your capacity. You're still achy. We would be anyway. Well, I would, but you're still really achy. You're about 40% of what you can do. On the Tuesday, you only get to about 70%, even a professional footballer. On the Wednesday, you're back. So when you play a Tuesday to a Saturday, it makes a massive difference. But if you listen to football teams, they talk about Saturday, Tuesday all the time. The fact we've had Friday, and obviously it's an evening game, that gives us 3 full days to get that prep, that work right. So by the time tomorrow comes around, they're on day 4.
Plus we're at home.
And we're at home both games. Bristol City have got a journey. They played Saturday. Let me just have a quick gander. They were at home on Saturday. I tell a lie, they were away at Swansea, but it's not too far for them, is it? But they've got to travel all the way up here as well. It was Saturday they played. Makes a difference, it does, and we've got to make that count. So I want to see us going 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2, full pelt, 60 minutes, subs on, and then go again. And it's Tuesday again, which means for Saturday we should be okay. So with enough recovery time. So I think that's the way we have to go. I think we have to go quite... We've gone a bit more counter-attack. I think against Derby, that's probably the case, but against Bristol City, use that extra bit of energy, use that exuberance from the home games, fly at them, get a bit of energy, get the crowd going from minute 1. And yeah, I think I think we could steamroll them is a word I'm going to use, and I don't use that very often with Rovers at home.
Oh, geez, don't say that, Mark. Don't say that. But Michael O'Neilly came out and he said how much the crowd makes a difference. And we tweeted out saying, but they gave us something to cheer. And I completely agree. I think based on the 2 results that we've had, based on the fact that he seems to have got the players playing with a bit of passion and a bit of energy already. He's filled them with confidence already. Like you say, he's had another couple of days with them to prepare them. I think if we can do the old JDT of just go for it in the first 10 or so minutes and try and get something, I do think the result is there. I hope that we don't get frustrated as a team and then obviously as fans. But I would like to get I'd like to get the 3 points on this one, because then it buys them the time for the derby game. So say, as much as we don't want it to happen, but say we go and beat Bristol and then we lose to Derby, we've still got the 3 points, which is great. And then we go against Portsmouth and Oxford the 2 games after. Now, those are 2 games that you've got to say that we should be winning. I know Portsmouth have been picking up some results, but really being at home and a midday game on a Saturday, we should really be going for them as well. And then obviously Oxford away. Okay, that's probably not as easy as we're making out, but these are games then which you should be picking points on. So I would like it that we just give ourselves a little bit more of a cushion with another win. But I mean, asking for another win on the bounce, it's asking a lot, isn't it? But, hopefully we are prepared to do that.
Yeah, it is asking for a lot. We know the Championship, it bites you on the arse when you're least expecting it. But I think we should, we've every right to go into this one confident. Not saying I think we're world beaters. I'm not saying I think that we're going to set the world alight and get in the playoffs. I think it's still going to be a battle. There's still going to be massive bumps in the road. I think it still may well go down to the last game. And I think one thing that I am worried about is if you look at the league table when we went down last time, I think it's starting to look very, very similar. Forget the teams, just look at the points. I think you're going to see a similar points total in that relegation area. We went down with 51, was it? I think it could well be above 50. So I know I've said all along we need 7 from 14 games, was it, at 18 at the time? I actually think we need a little bit more than I thought looking at that. But that said, you sent me something the other day, Mike, that the bottom 4 have a combined 6 points out of the last 60, was it possible? 60 points. So they're not doing
got 1 win for Oxford, and they've got 2 draws. Leicester have 2 draws. West Brom have 3 draws. And Wednesday have lost all of theirs. I mean, so that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points in the last, few games for those teams. They're not. But you've got to say that someone's going to bounce back at some point. They have to, and we're probably going to slow down at some point. You can't keep winning your games, or else we are going to be talking bloody playoffs. But being realistic, we need to make sure that we don't do Rovers things and lose to the teams around us. And that's historically what we've done. Now we've always had slow Januaries going into February. And now we're starting to get points again. And hopefully that is the old traditional Rovers where we do start to bounce back towards middle of end of Feb. Yeah. The results went for us this weekend. I mean, they could have gone a little bit better. But really they went for us. I think that ignoring the Derby game, the next few games, we should be getting points from those games. The Bristol one, I think you're right in what you're saying with the fact of having the extra day they've got to travel and so on and so forth. And then obviously Portsmouth at home midday on a Saturday, and then Oxford away. You should be getting points out of them. So the Derby one, I think whatever you get out of that is going to be a bonus. Yeah.
I mean, I'd said we needed at least 3 of the wins of the 7 that we needed by the end of Feb, because we've got a bloody tough run of games, and I stand by that. And I think we always, it was never going to be smooth. We were always going to win a game that you weren't expecting, and then we'll lose one that we half expected. So Portsmouth at home, for example, is the one that stood out to me right from the beginning. That's a game we were all looking at and going, "Oh, we've got to win that."
But they've got the same form as us now, haven't they?
Exactly. And it was a game that you would go, right, that's the home game. But we're doing that because we're at home. we know notoriously we're not great at home. So we might well go and lose that one, but we've beaten QPR. We might go and beat Derby and lose to Oxford. These things are going to happen across the season. I think you need to not get too caught up in what everyone else is doing around you. I think I would just keep looking at what we're doing, keep ticking those games off. And I think we need to probably look at 52 as the marker, because you don't want to fall short. You'd rather aim for 52, get 51 and be okay. I think, therefore, right now, for those fans that are listening and aren't quite sure, we currently have 38 points. So a quick bit of rubbish maths, that means it's still pretty big. We still need another 14 points. You could argue 12. So, in
typical Rovers fashion, our goal difference isn't the best. So.
It isn't. No. Now, obviously, I think if you have a decent run, it should. It's not looking at. I mean, obviously, West Brom's is -17. Those around us are -8 to our -10. They're not too bad unless you're looking at Norwich. But I think we've got to get those 4 wins. Realistically, we've got to get them as quick as possible, obviously. But I think if you go into Bristol City at home, that's got to be 1. Portsmouth 2, Oxford 3, and then you need to pick another up. West Brom probably at home is the one you're going to look at. We could be there by April, and I hope we are, because
it's funny. I'm looking at, but like we said, there's not many teams that have come and impressed us. No, which means that as long as you're set up and you're doing well, we should be. And this is easy to say, but you should be in games now. If you've got a manager now that is well prepared and as professional as what he is going into games that we've seen in these two, say that continues, we should be picking up more results just based on the fact that there's some teams there that aren't actually as good as what their position states. I mean, some of the teams I'm looking at, I can't. I mean, Millwall 3rd. I mean, I know they're doing well, but are they a wow team to be 3rd?
I don't think there is many wow teams in the league, is there? Millwall have been a team that's been in and around the playoffs, never quite made it in. Obviously, the last game of the season, we kept them out that time. I think the very fact Coventry are at the top of the league, they're a decent championship team. They should be probably top 6. Should they be flying like they are? Probably not. Middlesbrough being 2nd. I think if you were going to get a standout team this year, it should have been Ipswich.
Yeah.
I could have seen them going and getting 100 points, but I don't stand. I hear people all the time going, "Oh, this was our season to do it. The Championship's going to be better next year." I'm never convinced. I think I'm watching the Championship, and I think some of the quality is getting worse year on year. I think there's not much.
I think football in general is getting worse, if we're being honest.
Yeah. I think there's not much in games. There wasn't much in games a lot of the times this season. What happened, though, was that we were struggling to find a way to win once Johnson wasn't in the team. We then started conceding first, obviously, because we weren't scoring. And the team were looking around and going, I don't know how we're turning this round. And then that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And it became by the end that was affecting performances and the lot. We've now got the flip side of that. We've got that confidence. So, listen, it sounds like we're sat here thinking that we've got the second coming of Pep or Jurgen Klopp. That's not what we're saying. I think we're just saying that the bar has been pretty low. We felt like we had a team that was just thrown out every week to the plan that they concocted months ago, regardless of who those players were. I now feel like we're being given a fighting chance. There's not much in games. We've got a bit of momentum. Let's try and get the maximum out of this momentum.
And one player that has been missing has been Todd Cantwell in the last 2 games. His name keeps popping up on one of them. He's someone that's frustrated me. There's social media toxicity towards him about how he's not necessarily a player that's improving us. He's on a lot of money. Now there's rumours that he's not going to be signing a new contract, or he's refusing to because he doesn't know where we're going to be, blah, blah, blah. Now, we've crunched some numbers, and for those watching on YouTube, we've got it up on the screen now. But let me just quickly go through this for this season for those listening on the podcast. So for this season, he's got 4 goals and 3 assists. That's across 20 games. Interestingly, he's played 12 home games and 8 away games, for those that are saying that he doesn't like those long away games. But interestingly, with him, we've played the 20 games, we've got 19 points, and without him, it's 13 games and 19 points. So 7 less games without him, but we've got the same amount of points. The XG, personally, I don't necessarily like this stat, but for those that do, with him, it's 1.08 for Rovers, and without him, it's 1.26. But interestingly, against, we have 1.12 XG against us with him, and 1.09 when he's with us, so when he's not here. So what's interesting there is, effectively, it's saying we are kind of better without him. But what's your thoughts on Todd Cantwell based on these stats and what your eyes have been telling you?
Yeah, I mean, the stats don't surprise me. I think that poor run of form, my memory tells me we were winning games. He came back in the team and we stopped winning them. I think there's a lot more to it than that. Andrego Johnson's injury, he was the crux of Ismail's plan, and he fell off a cliff. What I am seeing is a player that when he's not at 100% might as well not play. I don't think he's one of them that can play at 80%. I just don't think he's effective at all. I see somebody that can be a difference maker, but more often than not isn't. Now, is there a player in there? Yeah. Do I think Michael O'Neill, like all managers, will think, I'm going to get the best out of him? Yeah, I do. And I actually think he probably will from now until the end of the season, well, when he's fit. I think Todd Cantwell is somebody who needs fresh motivation a lot. He's talked for 2 years now about wanting to get his numbers back. He talked about coming away from Rangers. He's somebody who lived in Norfolk. He wants quiet life. He wants his kids to not have any hassle when they're going to school. Listen, completely understand all of that. But on a football pitch, he talked about, listen, I know how good I am. I need to get my numbers to reflect it. And they're not. 4 goals and 3 assists isn't good enough. Now, he will argue he should have had another goal in the chalked-off game. But it's still not good enough, is it? 20 games, 4 goals, 3 assists. It's not good enough for somebody who, really, if we're being honest, when he signed for us, we said this person should not be with us in 2 years' time. At the end of this season, he should have been leaving, and one way or another, that would have happened. And we thought that would either be because it's gone horrifically wrong, therefore we're now cutting our losses. But actually, if he comes and does what he should really be doing, then the Premier League's going to come calling. Now, right now, I would rather have Moussa Baragi in the team in that number 10 role, but I'd certainly rather have Marishta in that number 10 role. He's not a patch on what Sammie Szmodics was, and now I'll quantify that. Sammie Szmodics was nowhere near a player with the talent of Todd Cantwell. I used to say, if he touches the ball anywhere in our half, I'm worried, and I stand by that. He was very, very niche. You had to play him exactly as he needed to be played. He couldn't be played on the left wing, whereas Cantwell, in many ways, could play in a lot of positions because he's got ability. But Sammie Szmodics was effective. Todd Cantwell should be more effective, and that's part of his problem. Had he been... Listen, had Tyrese Dolan had those numbers last year, we were asking for a bit more. Had Moussa Baragi had these numbers, we wouldn't be batting an eyelid. It's because it's Todd Cantwell. It's because he comes with a name, with an expectation.
It's the levels.
Allegedly with a massive wage. But all of the things he's come, he's wearing the captain's armband. I think I understood why Ismail did that. I don't think he's the captain that I would necessarily have, but I understand why. I think try and get the best out of somebody, and it worked for a bit. But he is seemingly now looking more and more like somebody who the sun's shining, the pitches are nice, the team's doing well, everything's rosy. I am looking like a player. It gets a bit minging Tuesday nights, cold. He's either not there or he's might as well not be there. And that's really sad to say. And I hope he turns it around because there is something in there. I'm still not sure quite how much, though, if I'm honest.
Yeah, There's a lot of people having conversations about him. I see a lot of people defending him. There's a lot of people attacking him. Obviously, I've said my piece about him previously. I've said similar to other players like Sam Gallagher, Dolan. Dolan was a little bit different. Dolan was, I knew that he could become a player. I just needed to show, and it's great to see what he's doing. But the Cantwell thing, he's definitely a player that could kick on. Whether it's between the ears that's just not clicking with him or confidence, I'm not too sure. There are a few things that we do need to discuss. One, he did play with Gay and a very tired Ohashi for a lot of the season. So I can understand when you look up and you see Gay there that you do turn back and just make an easy pass instead. Obviously, Ismail didn't necessarily know how to use him. I think that there was an element of not knowing the best way to use his abilities. Coming into the stats side of things. So effectively, if this pace continues, we would score one more goal about every 7 games without Cantwell, which obviously isn't major, that when it comes to the XG. If we're looking at those XGs, they're very, very similar. But that kind of is going to get to a point I want to make in a second. So the average position of the teams that he's played is 12.2 and without is 11.8. So you round them, basically with and without, it's an average around 12th place, which isn't surprising. The funny thing is, apparently, this is according to stats that I found, when we play at home without him, we seem to play a lot better in terms of XG and points. That seems to be quite interesting. But yeah, so those are some of the stats. Some of the others, they're so contentious, I don't even want to bring them up, to be honest, because they're so close. But the reason I wanted to bring up these stats, effectively, what the stats are saying is, are we better with Cantwell, without Cantwell? Like from an XG point of view, it's very similar. We can't really get into that. The fact is, he's on reported 35,000 a week. It's a lot of money. He's going to be our highest earner, whether it's 35,000 or another thing, but he's going to be our highest earner. And the fact is, could that money be spent better elsewhere? We know we haven't got a lot of money. Yeah. So say we look at this stat and we say, okay, without him, we go and get more points. And then you've got a flat two lots of stats there to say in the same amount of games, we've got X amount of points compared to that. Because even if you look at some of the stats with him, one of them I think was like for 19 minutes and one was 45. So 2 of those points, he wasn't even on the pitch for the whole time. So we could really get into that. But the whole point is, are we getting our money's worth out of him? Football is about trying to, get as much out of what you've got. And with Cantwell, is the juice worth the squeeze?
Yeah, I think that's something that they'll absolutely be weighing up. I mean, if it bought us, 7 Dion Denevers, I'd probably argue I'd rather have a Cantwell. But if it meant the difference between having another Andre Johnson, then it's a different matter. I think Andre Johnson's almost a different story. Does he do enough outside of the penalty box? We probably need to talk about that in a week or so. But he's bloody effective. And reportedly, one of the big barriers at the moment with the club is we had fee money to spend because of the FFP cycle or the PNS cycle from Wharton's money and things like that. But what we didn't have was wages. So that is because obviously we could pay the transfer fee now, for argument's sake, and that would be the end of our 3-year PNS cycle. The wages would be obviously over the time, and then we couldn't commit to a high wage. You can make a difference, if your highest paid player's on double. Now we're getting into speculation time here, but if it's double, say what the next top earner is, it's going to be an issue. Now it might not be. People are presuming Todd Cantwell's on big money because of where he's come from. Todd Cantwell might have thought, do you know what? I've had enough of being in a city. I want the quiet life. I'm just going to go and enjoy my football, and that will make me a better player, and I'll earn the money back later on. Maybe he did. Who knows? We don't know. It makes me laugh, Mike. A lot of the figures that we see banded around are from Football Manager. Now I know because I used to put the numbers in Football Manager. Nobody actually knows those wages, so you can't go off them. What they're actually done from is you look at a club's wage bill, you break it down to the transfer, the squad. You look at any articles where they say, "Oh, this player doubled his wage," and you do loads of. So that it's not just plucking numbers out of thin air, but
he's going to be on a lot.
It's an educated guess. So yeah.
He's going to be on a lot, and when we're looking at other players, and you're getting more out of them, and we know that we've got owners that aren't just going to be throwing money around, and then you look around the league and you look at other players and how much they're on and how they're performing, then that's what really adds to the frustration. Yeah. So, like we said, the thing is with Cantwell, there's a lot of history there. There's a lot of talent there in his career where you can point at and say, do you know what, there is someone there that we can use, and that's obviously why he's come. He's got the wage that he's got. But then we can point at players like your Bradley Dacks and so on that weren't on this kind of money when they came in, and they absolutely fired us to the next echelon, upper echelons of where we needed to be. And that's where the frustration now lies, is because we have a player there that's a captain that we're not seeing enough out of. Yeah. That being said, it's a new era for everyone now, and he hasn't had an opportunity to play under O'Neill. So this isn't me now saying I'm done with Cantwell. I'm not done with Cantwell. As soon as any player that is here that is wearing a blue and white shirt, I want them to succeed. And I think he may do. It's going to be really interesting to see how he's used. But based on how we play, I'm just not sure where he's necessarily going to fit in, and whether he's the kind of player that we need in a relegation fight, which is what we're currently in.
Yeah, I think the flip side of that is you always need a player in tight games that can do something different, that can pick a pass that nobody else can.
Have you seen him do that, though, for us?
On occasions, but not enough. I think my sort of standing with it is, as a football manager, you should be able to get the best out of your best players. I kind of judge managers a little bit by that. Only one of the barometers, but are you getting the best out of the players that you really should be? Now, listen, Todd Cantwell's had a number of managers that have struggled to do that. So there comes a point where you say, actually, it's on him. I think the reason that this is becoming more of a conversation, I don't just mean between us, I mean the fans, is we're being told that we can't renew contracts because players are turning down offers because we can't match the wages of other clubs. So you've got players like Sondre Tronstad that, for argument's sake, let's say we couldn't offer him a wage that would tempt him to stay. And then you've got Todd Cantwell there, and it's night and day in terms of influence on the team. So that's why it's becoming a bigger conversation. If we were paying players the same money as Todd Cantwell or thereabouts, or we could offer them, but it's potentially the fact that actually what we're talking about here is by having Cantwell, we can't have X, Y, and Z. And that makes it all the more important that he's pulling out of the bag reel.
Yeah, we need to get our money's worth. But it is what it is right now with Cantwell. He's got an opportunity. He's got a second life.
Yeah,
he's now got to come and prove himself. There's other players that, like a Pickering, for example, that's going to be proving themselves. I mean, I don't think Pickering had anything to prove, but obviously to the management point, he's now going to prove. I think, talking about the rumours of contracts, the fact that apparently Tronstad's not going to sign a new one for family reasons and so on. And if he is going to move on, that's absolutely gutting, because whilst he had a slow start to his career, he's proven to be a very, very strong player for us. We are going to see some more changes. We might even see more changes at management level. I mean, O'Neill's only on a short-term deal. He could win every single game for the rest of the season and then end up still saying, "No, I'm not coming back." I think there's still a lot of changes that we're going to see at this football club on and off the pitch.
Yeah, and I've seen enough. Listen, I am not saying he's the Messiah, but I've seen what we potentially have out there, and I've seen a guy already that's able to get. And having the conversation with Dan that I did from the Stoke podcast the other day, he was talking about Vrancic, similar, but he actually referenced Cantwell. I didn't bring him up, and he said he'll love Cantwell. He'll want to play him where he played Vrancic. He'll get the most out of him. But listen,
that's true.
Yeah, from a Michael O'Neill point of view, I've seen a manager now already, forget the results, I've just seen somebody who's going to get the most out of what he's got, or at least adapt his plan and go, do you know what? This is what I've got available. This is what I need to do. I'm happy to settle. I'm happy to say, do you know what? Let's give him a couple of year deal. I've seen what the market is out there this time and last time. I would settle and say, right, deal. Can we sort some terms out now? So
it's whether he wants to, though, isn't it?
Well, would you want to? Because I think if I'm Michael O'Neill right now, if you think actually I can make this team better than they were, Rovers are then going to want me. Other teams are probably going to want me. There's going to be other championships. And let's be honest, the issues at Blackburn Rovers were never going to be what Michael O'Neill would experience because they've all been around, allegedly, broken promises. Things that not being given the control they want, not being given the signings they want. So he would be then in a really strong position going into the summer to say, listen, you want me, do you? Right, well, I want X, Y, and Z, and not monetary. I want these guarantees. So if we're not careful, and it's not just results-wise, but if we're not careful, we're going to leave ourselves in a right pickle. And as much as the upturn in terms of optimism is there is that little cloud on the horizon of, if he does that well, what are the fans then going to turn around and say? Because then he's only not staying because of X, Y, Z. You can see where it's going. So the quicker they shut that conversation down, I'll be happy.
Well, he's already had a better start than previous managers. So, yeah. Let's hope it continues. We're not getting ahead of ourselves. We do appreciate, obviously, where everything's going, and football can change quite quickly. At the moment, it's changed quickly for the positive for us. It could easily change back. But right now, we're seeing some positives. We're coming to the end of the podcast. We've talked about the previous week's football. We've talked about the next week's football. The forum, Mark, you wanted to have a quick discussion about that?
Yeah, I've just had a few people asking about certain things, and obviously there's some people might have seen there's been bits and bobs obviously popping up over every time there is a forum. I just wanted to sort of clarify a few things really in terms of what I think there's been a misunderstanding about the forum. It's described as a closed shop and tea and biscuits, and why do a few fans get this and that? So I just thought I'd give people a bit of background really that they possibly don't know. So the forum was started by John Williams 20 odd years ago. The world was a different place. You couldn't just email people, send flyers. You couldn't just do a Teams call. And it was kind of a way of consulting with fans, feedback on fan experience, etc., stuff like that. I saw it on the website, put yourself forward. What they were basically trying to do, it had to be season ticket holders, and they wanted a cross section of ages, where you sat in the ground, and demographics, basically. So I've been on there now for 22 years, Mike, I worked out. God knows how many hours. But yeah, so I was a Blackburn End season ticket holder. I fit the bill in that. I was 17 at the time. But you weren't allowed to talk about the football. You could briefly mention it and say, oh, what a good result. But it wasn't about the football. It wasn't about, oh, do you know what? At the time, I think you should be selling Benny McCarthy and cashing in. It wasn't. There were none of that. It was all around, listen, what is it you want on the concourse? What can we be doing better? Which of these kits do you particularly like? We didn't have a final say. It was just to get some sort of, it was almost like a focus group, basically. And then it's evolved. It's evolved because of many, many reasons. Obviously, we've had different CEOs. The club's changed a lot. Different CEOs have had different views on it. They've wanted to discuss different things. But what I wanted to clarify, it's not a group. This isn't a supporters group. All it is a vehicle for meeting with the club. So since obviously it's now the only way that fans can meet with a club, what I've tried to do as chair is just encourage as many different groups. Listen, if this is the only way we can meet with the club and we can only meet them this often, get as many people around the table in terms of different groups as possible. So like the last forum we are the Rovers Trust, Rovers SAS, Proud Rovers, Eagle Blues, the Independent Disabled Supporters, Her Game 2, BRFCS forum, a member from the Junior forum, which we've set up. So it's not that it's just a few individuals in a room. These are all democratically elected, generally, people from different groups. And just on that, I was voted as vice chair by all the people that went to the meeting at that time. which was many groups. Mike Graham got voted as chair. I was vice chair. And then Mike became chair of the We Are the Rovers Trust. So he stepped down. So then I came chair. He didn't feel it was right. He thought it was a bit of a conflict of interest. He felt that the chair should be independent of groups. So people saying I'm not elected. I am in that sense. But listen, it's not about that. It's just a selection of fan groups, and other fan groups can apply to come on. Minutes have been something that people have talked about. Listen, they've always been a summary. They've always been done by the secretary, and they check with the club for accuracy. So, for example, if you aren't at the meeting, Mike, and you want to know how many season tickets have you sold, and you're having a look, you want the figure to be accurate, not the one they told you in the meeting if that was wrong. That's only really the kind of thing that we go back to the club about. It tries to capture key points. Check. It could be a full transcript, but it's usually about a 2-hour meeting. I'm not sure that'd be great. Now, listen, does it need to evolve? Quite possibly. When it started, we couldn't do things on Zoom and on Teams and things like that. But there is an element where some of the things that we talk about, if we're talking about kit deals, the conversation is either people want everything streamed, is either we talk about it in the meeting, but some of it will have to stay confidential because we can't make it public, but we're explaining things to you. Now, some people say some fans shouldn't hear that and others don't. So the other option is they don't talk to the fans about it. Now, listen, we're not getting into the ins and outs. What I've said is, and I think it's pretty clear that fans feel they need more communication with the club. The club would argue that they answer the same questions over and over, and that's why they don't want to have separate meetings with different fan groups. They want them all to be on one forum, and then those representatives can go and disseminate or whatever. Now, moving forward, I think it is clear that there needs to be some changes, and that's been the case. We've been trying to evolve. We drafted a constitution just to see, can we formalise things? But it was a draft. We sent it to the club. We sent it to, what do the club think of this? Does this fit with what they want? Because they're saying, listen, we want something meaningful out of the meeting as well. We want genuine opinions. From our point of view, well, when we're giving you opinions, can you listen to them, please? X, Y, and Z. So we brought in the FSA. They're the ones who set different groups up at clubs. And we're saying, listen, does ours fit? Is there anything we need to do? Do we need to tweak things? They're telling the club stuff. They're telling us stuff. It's not about the fans forum protecting itself. Listen, we're open to whatever the FSA suggests, really. I'm a supporter. I want more communication. I want clearer communication. I want transparency. So it's about how we get there. Now, we've got technology. I've got a friend who lives in Canada. He'd probably be really interested in a supporters consultation type meeting, but he obviously can't go in person. So I think we need to utilise that somehow. I think the ideal is that we have that available. And then the other ideal is that, listen, when the board are having really high level discussions, now this is ideal, like dream scenario, they're obviously going to be confidential and they're going to have them regardless. Would I like a fan or some fans, and I don't mean me, some fans who maybe we vote, but some fans in that discussion, it might make a blind bit of difference, might not. But would I like that? Yeah, I would. I mean, there's the whole talk about having shadow boards and having fan representative on the board. That'd be the ideal. So listen, that's what I'm aiming for as a fan. What are the club happy with? The club want more communication as well, in a sense of they want to hear things back that they can genuinely take from meetings rather than just a back and forth. But I think, listen, we had a really positive meeting with the Football Supporters Association in terms of, listen, this is what we want as an ideal. This is what the club are saying they want as an ideal. How do we get there? What does it look like? They're going away. They're doing some work on where we're at as a club at the minute and where we are potentially going to move forward. We all have said we want the same things, whether people will believe it or not. We want transparency. We want more communication. And we want to be heard as a football fan. I think they listen. I think sometimes I don't feel heard because I seem to be having the same conversation over and over. So do I particularly want to be chair of the fans forum right now? Not really. But I kind of think it's one of them things where if you're not going to be having that conversation with the club, then you equally can't turn around and say, well, I want more communication. So I'm kind of there with it. Am I happy with what they say all the time? No. Do we ask the questions? Yeah. Do I want different answers? Yeah. But what I'd just say is, listen, I think my dream scenario is that, we have those high-level discussions with the club from fans' perspectives as well, and they're heard. That would be a dream. But I think I want to get away from, and I've only realised semi-recently that I do this, and I know others do. I don't want to say the club. I want to talk about us, our club, the club as in fans. I'm thinking it is very much the club and the fans, and I want that gone. So I know some people will scream at me and go, "Oh, that needs Venky's to go." Listen, if I could wave a magic wand, I'd probably ask the same as well. But we are where we are. There's only certain things in our control. So I think right now what we need to do is speak to the Football Supporters Association, who are the experts, see what we can do moving forward. And I am actually really positive about it. I'll be honest, if we can get it to a place like that, I'll quite happily say anyone else who wants to put their name forward, please do. But if I can walk away and say I've helped in some small way, repair, build bridges, get the club listening to the fans feeling heard, then I'd be delighted with that. But if anyone else wants to do it after that, then I'll also be pretty happy with that, I'll be perfectly honest.
Well, you've definitely done your time, mate, and obviously appreciate the time you've just taken to explain a lot there. I mean, me personally, I know how much time you spend doing it, and, you know, I'm not just saying this because you're my mate. I know how hard you work and making sure the right decisions are being made where you can. I think the difficult thing for me was obviously to see what happened across the last week. I did feel like I needed to jump in and kind of get involved and defend you a little bit. But the one thing I would like to say is just how professional you are with it. You don't tell me anything. You know, we talk regularly about Blackburn, and the one thing that you've always done is distance yourself from telling me anything. I find out the same as everyone else on here. I'll say to you before the podcast, is there anything you want to talk about in the forum? And you say yes or no. And then I'm finding out at the same time. So you've always been really professional with it. And I appreciate the hard work you've done with it. And hopefully everyone will appreciate that as well. And hopefully the whatever it looks like going forward works. I'm the same as you. I would love it if we could go back to the Jack Walker days and it was a well-run club. But right now, I think it's baby steps. And that's just me putting my sensible head on. It's always going to be baby steps with this club. If you can get one step forward, then you've made major progress with this club.
Yeah, listen, what I would just continue to say to people is, I know there's a lot of disgruntled people around, but there's a lot of bloody hard-working, good people at that football club. We have our opinions about certain people and decisions, and football's an opinionated business. We've just been having a chat about Todd Cantwell's performances. We don't know what's going on in the background for him. But what I would say is there's a lot of local, hard-working people at the football club who want the very best. Have there been mistakes made by individuals, by hierarchies? Absolutely there has. But hopefully we'll get to a place where we feel a bit more heard. And we cannot wave a magic. You know, if I won the Euro Millions, I still couldn't buy Blackburn Rovers, unfortunately. But yeah, fingers crossed we get to a bit of a better place with it all.
And I just want to talk about the football. That's all I'm bothered about. I want this to be, we're talking about football, we're talking about signings, the ingoings and outgoings of the playing staff. That's what I want to talk about. That's what I find fun about football. I don't want to talk about the business. I don't want to talk about everything that's going on in the background. I've been really lucky that I've supported a club that was well run for such a high percentage of my life that, you know, that's kind of what I was used to, and it is a shame that we are where we are. But let's finish on a positive. We've had 2 wins under the new management. We're hopefully going to get a few more. How positive are you for the rest of the season? Where are you placing us towards the end of the season now?
I think it's going to be a twitchy bum time at some point. I think we're going to have a bit of a rocky road still. I now give us a fighting chance. For me, it was heading towards... I mean, it wasn't a Sheffield Wednesday foregone conclusion, but I thought we were the ones that were heading for relegation. I felt like we had all the hallmarks of a team going down. We looked disjointed. We looked devoid of confidence, devoid of a plan. I now see us as a team that, if I was an outsider looking in, I go, well, they're going to be all right. They've got that bounce. And it feels a bit more than a bounce. I'm not saying results will continue that way. I just feel like there's going to be a structure and a plan to every game. That's all I ask for. I think we've always had the players giving 100% this season. That's never been in doubt for me. Has the plan been in doubt? Has the formation, the tactics, the in-game changes? Absolutely. And I think he won't get all of that right. But the other thing I've got to mention is we've also got Phil Jones's Superman back on that bench. And how happy was he? His face,
exactly,
just like every Rovers fan, and that's in him. And you can't put a price on that, I'm afraid.
No. We're definitely looking forward to games now, and that's the first time we've been able to do that this season. So let's hope we got a couple of wins. But again, same with every week I say, just put your comments down below. What do you think about what we've spoken about this week? What do you think of the Preston game? How did you react when Ohashi went in? Was you pushed 4 or 5 rows down Eward? Did you pop your Achilles jumping up like my mate did when he was supporting? What's your thoughts on O'Neill? The coaching staff, what do you think the results are going to be going forward? But Mark, thanks for joining me again this week.
No worries, just 2 quick things. If Rovers haven't brought out a Phil Jones's Superman t-shirt in the next month, I think we should do it. And why not? And number 2, I was just going to say, listen, I hope your mate's all right. Achilles injury, that sounds horrific.
Obviously. It wasn't supporting Rovers, I'm afraid. But he was sat on the sofa, and he's jumped up, and as he's jumped up, he's popped his Achilles.
Oh, ouch!
And as we know, that is a very nasty injury. Very nasty injury.
Absolutely. I want to end on sending our best wishes to Lewis Miller. Listen, we've said everything we've said about him this season. At times when he's been good, at times when he's not. But he's somebody who gives his all, and see somebody's World Cup dream dashed like that is absolutely heartbreaking. And he's done it, giving his all for the football club. So absolutely best wishes. If he wants to come on, take his mind off it and talk absolute rubbish, feel free, Lewis. And then the other thing, I would just say our videos recently the numbers have been unbelievable. So thank you very much to everyone who's liking, sharing, subscribing, whatever you're doing. Even if it's the same person watching it over and over again, thank you.
Exactly. And obviously, keep sharing, keep doing it. We keep helping us grow, and we'll keep turning up every week and talking crap. It's what we do. But anyway, Mark, have a good one.
You too, mate.
And everyone have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
No, they never, no more, 'cause I'll stay.